Hey everyone, it is Tasty Taste from Blood of Kittens, and in this video, we're going to go over the top armies for the month of July. But before we get to that, let's check out this quick intro. Hello everyone, in this video we take a quick look at the top 10 Warhammer 40k armies for the month of July 2022. But before we jump in, here are some ground rules to determine what were the best armies for the month. First, we take any ITC events with at least 28 players and 5 rounds. Second, we take the top 3 armies from those tournaments, taking into account lists using multiple factions. Finally, we compare this to the previous month's results. July saw 34 events with 102 lists. So with that, let's get started. At number 1 and moving up 1 spot to number 1 is the Eldari with 18 lists, thanks to a deadly combination of Harlequins and Craftworld Space Elves. If you separate them out by their sub-factions, they would look less dominating, but as it is, pure Harlequins still overperform even with the most egregious items being nerfed. Then we have the Craftworlds themselves, which benefit from a ton of useful units, making almost all their winning armies look completely different from each other. At number 2, and moving up 2 spots, we have Adeptus Sororitas. The Sisters of Battle had 14 lists, but the community was expecting them to be number 1. As it is, Sisters of Battle rely on the same units that have been for months now, Zephyrum and Repentia. But thanks to a ton of point reductions, Paragon Warsuits are rounding out the entire army to make them deadly killing machines. As expected, the nerfed Tyranids are moving back from first place to third, thanks to some events still holding on to old chapter approved rules. Tyranids still had 14 lists, partially thanks to those events, but it also still performed well even with the Nephilim changes. Tyranids are still relying on the same units like Warriors and Harpies, but it is now minus the double detachments where we would see 2 Hive Tyrants. Tyranids look to stay in the upper mid-tier as players have adjusted well enough to keep them in most games. Unlike Tyranids, coming at number 4 are the newly empowered Necrons, having been out of the top 10 for months now. Necrons grabbed 8 podiums with the sole help of the Silent King leading the top Necron lists. The changes to protocols have really boosted the army, making almost every unit you put around the Silent King useful. The core units, though, seem to be revolving around Lich Guard and basic destroyers. Another newcomer to the top 10, at number 5, is the Chaos Space Marines, who unsurprisingly were helped out by their new codex. Chaos Space Marines had 6 lists, featuring Abaddon leading the way. But what you put around Abaddon depended on the player. Some lists preferred Chosen over Terminators, while others went heavy into Possessed. On top of that, support units were all over the place, with people taking Havocs, all the way to Raptors. Falling back 3 spots to number 6 are the Tao Empire, who seem very matchup dependent at the moment. With 6 lists, the Tao Empire were either hot or cold over July, having no lists one week, followed by the next week's having 3 lists. Tao lists saw less crisis suits than before. This was partially because of the point increases, but also was to make way for the new hotness, and that is the Sunshock Bomber, which made it away into multiple winning lists. This unit is very important because it allows Tau to go and attack people's backfields, where before they relied on broadsides to do that job. The big surprise for the month, though, had to be Orcs at number 7, who seem back from the dead, thanks to mostly other factions getting hit really hard. Orcs had 6 lists, which didn't change much from previous iterations. They were led by Gaz and surrounded by Squig Boys, Commandos, and Meganons. This still didn't mean that there wasn't some variety, because beyond the core units, there was kill rigs, battle wagons, and buggies galore. Sliding back 1 spot is the Drukhari. Drukari held on with just 4 lists. Nothing has really changed with this army over the past few months, and even with the Nephilim changes, still much hasn't changed. The army relies on good matchups and various adaptations to the classic thick city builds. At number 9 and back in the top 10 are the Thousand Sons with 4 lists. After months of being out of the top 10, the Thousand Sons are doing quite well. Helped by favorable point reductions to gear and bad matchup armies taking a tumble off Tyranids, Thousand Sons still rely on double blocks of Scarab Terminators, but are seeing more and more Rubric Marines, even with Warp Flamers making an appearance. Rounding out the top 10 and back 4 spaces, barely holding on, are the Adeptus Custodes. Adeptus Custodes were able to sprinkle in 3 lists over the month. We saw more spamming of troop choices, along with Gladius tanks replacing jet bikes. Custody players are also using more Sisters of Silence to blunt psychic armies and having easy troop choices to hold objectives. Well, there you have it, the top 10 Warhammer 40k armies for the month of July 2022. Falling out of the top 10 from June were Chaos Knights, Black Templars, Grey Knights, and Imperial Knights. For August, we will see a full month without any residual previous meta funk, but don't expect many changes unless GW drops another update. As always, if you want to see more of this content, please leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button, and ring that bell. Once again, thanks for watching.